What if you could share a Docker container publicly in seconds and then lock it down just as fast? And without having to deal with port forwarding, doxing your IP to the entire public internet, UPnP, VPNs, and all the other ways that do technically work, but not without a bunch of networking configuration or software to install. Ngrok's Docker Desktop extension smooths all of this out for you, and I'll show you how to get it done in just a few minutes with some AI magic from our friends at N8N and Ollama. As you can see here, I already have Ollama running in Docker Desktop. Next, I want to spin up N8N to act as my automation workflow platform. So I'm going to go over to my images that I've already pulled. I'm going to run a new N8N image into a container, name it N8N for obvious reasons. We'll give it the default port. And then I'm going to map a volume that is separate from the container itself, just so that if I ever have to recreate the container for any reason, I don't lose all of my data along with it. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set this environment variable, which I'm associating with a public URL that I've already reserved in my ngrok account. And this is going to mean that once my N8N instance is live on the public internet, all of the different things like webhook URLs or invite URLs are going to work exactly as expected and not have localhost in them, because then we have the same problem of my localhost doesn't work on your localhost, right? So we'll hit run here. We'll give it a second to spin up, and we are good to go. Now that we have our containers up and running, we want to go and find the ngrok extension. So we've got extensions here, and click browse if it doesn't already navigate there for you. And look, there's ngrok right there at the top. If it's not there for you, just search for ngrok and you will find it right away. I'm gonna hit install, and it's gonna take a few moments to process and get going. There we go. And I'm gonna open it, and you can see here that all you need is your ngrok auth token. So I'm gonna hop over to my account. I'm gonna copy my auth token, and I'm gonna put it in here and click save. And now I am authenticated. Now, the cool thing about this extension is that it shows you every Docker container that you have running locally. And so you can see I already have N8N and Ollama here, which means I'm ready to get either of them a public endpoint and get them online. So to go ahead and create this public endpoint for N8N, I just need to click the plus sign here. I'm going to keep this public setting, which means that it's accessible to the public internet. I'm going to drop in that URL that I showed a little bit ago. You could also leave this blank to have ngrok assign a URL for you. But just be aware that if you ever have to stop the endpoint or delete the endpoint and recreate it, it's going to make you a new URL, in which case you're going to have to go and maybe change some of your webhook providers. If you like stability like I do, I highly recommend a static URL like this. I'm going to click next step. And for now, I'm going to leave the traffic policy part blank. And now this URL is live. I can jump over to my browser and I can see my N8N instance available, which means that I can share this URL with a teammate, or I can start receiving webhooks from the APIs that I use every day. Having a service on the public internet is powerful, but it's also kind of scary. It's kind of risky. N8N does have its own login system that I just showed you, where it was saying to create an owner account, but I don't even want unauthorized users from seeing the login screen at all, much less being able to attempt to crack my username and password combinations. And this is where traffic policy comes in. Traffic policy is a configuration language that lets you filter and transform traffic at ngrok as your gateway before it ever even hits your Docker containers and the services that are running in them. So to add traffic policy to a endpoint that already is up and running, I can click this more, these three little more button dots here, click edit endpoint, and then scroll down a little bit, and there is the spot to add traffic policy. I'm gonna go ahead and copy and paste in a example traffic policy. And what this does is basically it's saying that on every HTTP request, I want to enforce a OAuth, a Google OAuth authentication flow. And if anybody logs in with an email that is not a @ngrok.com email address, I want to deny them. If they are an at ngrok email account, I'll let them in. I'll hit update and restart endpoint. And if I jump over to my N8N instance, you will see that I am forced first to go through a Google authentication flow. I'll do that. And you can see that I am dropped back into N8N because I have been authenticated. And that's just one of the many ways that you can transform traffic that's coming into your Docker containers and all of the AI goodness within it with ngrok as your gateway. Now, I want to show you one more thing really quickly in that like you can create any number of endpoints based on your Docker containers. So let's say I want a teammate wants to hit Ollama's API directly and not have to like navigate through N8N first. I can very easily make another endpoint. Maybe this one, I'll just use a random URL because maybe I will have it online at some points, offline at other points. And then here, again, I could leave this open to the public internet, or I could add in a different type of authentication like IP restrictions, JOT validation, or even a secret header that my developer friend needs to add to all of their requests that I would then filter against using traffic policy. Go ahead and create that endpoint, and you will see it if I just drop this into my browser that we are attached to Ollama. You can start sending requests to the proper routes and the proper bodies and headers, just like you would on localhost. So in just a few minutes, that's been the power of ngrok's new Docker desktop extension. You can spin up containers, expose them to the public internet, secure them all in just a minute or so. If you've already got Docker desktop, the extension is waiting for you. Try it out, drop into our Discord to share what you've built or share feedback on the experience that you had. And this is just one of the many ways that we're making ngrok meet you where you already develop and deploy your code. So I'm Joel at ngrok, and until next time, keep containerizing.